Hello and welcome back. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana, and you are watching Marksman TV. Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Used Gun Review. Remember, in these videos, I take a sampling of different firearms that come in the store, give you a 1 to 2 minute review of each to give you a good kind of a wide overview of some different things that might be available on the market that you may be interested in. Remember, the purpose of this video is strictly to be educational. This video is not meant or intended to sell you anything, to keep in accordance with YouTube's policies. Anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into it now. Alright, remember the format of this video is we're going to start off with most common and end up with the least common. So starting off with spot number 1, I have a Fed Arms SS12. This is a single shot 12 gauge. You open the mechanism by pulling the front of the trigger guard here, rotating the barrel down. Now, one cool feature about this is there is a cutout in the bottom of the forearm which allows for the trigger guard to rest in, so you can actually almost fold it in half, which makes it a really nice concealable little package. You could take as a backpack gun for backpacking, store it easily underneath the seat of your truck, you know, anything like that. So a good little survival single shot 12 gauge. You might also see these branded as the ATI Nomad, virtually the same firearm. These are very inexpensive. You're going to find them brand new between about $120 and $150. Used, you're going to find between about maybe somewhere between $50 and $100 depending on condition. This one is a stainless steel frame, which is going to go a little bit higher. Really nice little single shot 12 gauge, very basic. The 12 gauge single shot top break concept has been around for a very long time, so this is just a modern spin on it. Polymer furniture. Short barrel, I believe, is somewhere between 16.5 and 18 inches. It looks like about 16.5 inch barrel to me. But anyway, a very basic, straightforward top break shotgun. Alright, up next I have a Remington Model 597. Now this would come onto the scene in the late 90s, around 1996, 1997, when it's actually recently just discontinued last year in 2019. Now this would come onto the market to compete with things like the Ruger 1022 because it does have a removable 10-round box magazine. It also has the longer, this is a Remington branded, I believe this is a 25-round magazine, so sort of to compete with like the BX25 on the Ruger 1022, and a straight single stack magazine as opposed to the rotary on the Ruger 1022 as well. Other things on the market would be like the Marlin Model 60. Now the Model 60 from Marlin is tube fed, again, this magazine fed. Now, quality wise, not very many people would argue with me on this, but the quality on the Ruger 1022 is much better. There were some known jamming issues and reliability issues on these, but also the bigger difference is the price point. So brand new, you could find these in about the 200-ish range, which the base model 1022s do compete in price, but the 1022s do get higher in price than these do. But you know, for an extra $100 or so, the 1022 is considered by most to be a better value. But these are still very nice rifles. You can find them on the used market between about the $100 to $150 mark. So you know, for that price, if you're looking for just a squirrel gun, you know, a weekend plinker or something to just have fun with the kids or to teach a new shooter on, for the used value of these, definitely fine. Nothing really wrong with them at all for that $100 price point. So not much else to say about it. You do have the scope mount right up here at the top, semi-automatic, like I said. Detachable box magazines is how it feeds. Polymer stock, metal barrel and receiver. Very basic 22 firearm. Okay, up next I have a Car Arms CW 380. This particular one obviously does not have its original box, but does come with 4 magazines holding 6 rounds. The CW 380, you guys saw in a video a couple weeks ago, we had these used. This is a Car CM9. So this would be the 9mm version. Of course, you can see the 380 version is just a hair smaller, kind of like the difference between a Sig 938 and a 238. Of course, because you are going down to the 380, you are getting a slightly smaller package, but with that, you get a you know, a smaller round, a little less stopping power. Of course, the age-old debate goes between what you're losing between a 9 and a 380, but you are getting a very tiny concealed carry package. These are very good handguns. They are known for having very tight tolerances and a break-in period, and can be a little bit difficult to disassemble the first couple of times because everything on this is just super tight built. But the reliability on them is good. Brand new, you're going to find these in about the $300 to $400 range, stabilizing around maybe the $350. Used, they still command a pretty good amount of their value between about roughly at about the $200 to $250 range. So you know, with its one magazine, which is what they come with new. So you know, for that price point, again, if you find one used, is a good deep concealment option. Again, for the $250 price point. So really nice firearms, not much else to say about them. Striker fired. One thing about these, and I mentioned this when I talked about the 9mm, is the trigger is very long and very spongy with a pretty long reset. Resets pretty much all the way back. So that's something to get used to, but there is no manual safety and there's no trigger safety, which is why the trigger pull on them is so long. But still, a lot of people like these. Interesting when they come in. They never really last too long. All right, up next I have the little Sig Mosquito. Sig Mosquito is a 22 that is not, I guess magazine disconnect, that is not manufactured by Sig anymore. You guys, basically, to see this package now, you'd be looking at the GSG Firefly, which, in my opinion, reliability on those has gotten better. The Mosquitoes were known for being very, very picky on the ammunition. Basically, anything short of a CCI mini mag would not function very reliably in these. So if you get a Mosquito, you want to be looking at those mini mags basically to keep really good functionality of it. This isn't a bitone. They made them just like Sig fashion. They made them in many different color schemes, all black, tan and black, pink and black, you know. Options are basically endless. What this is really designed to be is a scaled down 226. You have the decocker here, just like on a 226. Safety feature right up here. Slide, hold open lever right here, just like on a 226. Takedown lever here. So, you know, not really much to say about them. 10 round detachable box magazine, double single action. These brand new, they were about in the $350 mark when they were new and manufactured by Sig. Used, back when Sig made these, the used market was pretty soft on these, between about $150 to $250, or maybe about $150 to $200. Now, because Sig no longer manufactures these, the Sig branded Mosquitoes, of course, are climbing up a little bit in value, seeing them around the $250 marks for something like this in this condition, and this one is in great shape. You can get the GS, like brand new, you can get the GSG Fireflies for about the same price. And in my opinion, again, reporting on those has been that the reliability is better with different brands of ammunition than the Mosquitoes were. So interesting there. Again, if you see a Mosquito, worth taking a look at, but then again, keep in mind they are very finicky with ammo. All right, up next I have a Ruger 2245 Lite, and this is a Mark III. The biggest difference between the Mark III and the Mark IV is the Mark IV is going to have a little push button for easy disassembly. The Marks 1 through 3 are a little bit finicky on their disassembly operation. Now the Lite model, of course, has the polymer frame, and they call it the 2245 because this section of the frame resembles that of the back end section of a frame of a 1911. So you have the 11-degree grip angle contours here, and the 1911 grip scales, if you get them, can switch over and convert over onto this handgun. So if you are a 1911 shooter, this will translate over to you very well and fits you pretty comfortably. Now this one is in the green color configuration, which actually, believe it or not, was not that common. If you're looking at the color 2245s, the blue would be more common than this. Green, of course, being a little bit less common. This had a threaded barrel, tall profile sights adjustable in the rear. Like I said, a full-length rail up here at the top if you want to mount an optic, and you have the lightning cuts here around the barrel just to lighten up the profile. Now, price-wise on these, of course, if we're looking at like the Mark IVs or Mark IIIs new, you're looking at about the $400 to $450 price point. Used, you're in about the $300 to $350. So this particular one does not have its original box, but does have both mags. I would expect it to be, again, like I said, $300 to $350 on the current market. But very, very nice, good quality, reliable 22s that can use a plethora of different types of ammunition. Of course, the power of the round is really only actuating the bolt, not the entire slide. So You know, known for their reliability, the Mark series from Ruger has been very popular since they were first came out onto the market in the, I believe the standard model was 1949 to 1950, somewhere around there. So these have been on the market for now about 70 years, and they continue to dominate and do very well in their category. So if you see a Mark Series 22 in any variant, rest assured it is a good firearm, and I would definitely recommend taking a look. Okay, up next is a Ruger SP101. These are very, very good revolvers. Now, this particular one, they do fit well. The SP101s do fit well, and they conceal carry. They kind of compete with like the J frame, maybe a little bit larger J to K frame Smith & Wesson lineup. The GP100 being the more full frame, of course, the Red Hawks as well. This is a 357, so we'll shoot the 357 and 38s. These are known for having very nice, hefty frames. They do have quite a bit of weight to them, so they are going to weigh more than your Smith & Wessons, like in the Airweight series. So, of course, be ready for that extra bit of weight. But with that weight, you are going to have more controllability, especially in a 357 or a 38 plus P, less felt recoil. So, would make a really good bedside gun. Still a lot of fun to shoot these on the range. Very, very popular firearms. Now, on the new market, these are going to run you in about the $500 to $600 price point, and they do make different variations of these in different pricing configurations. Those with wood grips, tallow edition guns. This one has a replaced night front sight. They have the bobbed hammer or hammerless versions if you want to go that route as well, and they do have different barrel lengths. They also have them in stainless and blued, so a big variety out there. But generally, you're going to find them at about the $500 to $600 price point. Used, you're going to find them between about $400 and $500. Of course, this one with its original box and everything like that. So, again, Rugers of all sorts, really, really well made, very nice, smooth action, double single action on this one. Your cylinder capacity here is 5 rounds, and it does have a push button release as opposed to Smith, which is pushed in, or Colt, which is pushed back. So all three definitely have their own sort of manual of arms you have to get used to. But I love seeing Rugers of any type come in, and especially these SP101s, the GP100s, Red Hawks, they never really last too long. All right, up next I have a Springfield. This is an XDS Mod 2 45. And this one here has a ton of this, has a little laser unit here for the bottom of the barrel, a whole bunch of spare magazines, carrying case. So Springfield has always been known for offering, here I'll grab a mag out of here, stick in the gun while we talk about this. Springfield has always been known for offering like gear up packages where during special times they run promotions where they'll include, if you purchase the firearm, you can send in a voucher for 6 or 7 spare magazines or a range bag or stuff like that. So Springfield has always been known for doing that sort of thing. So the first generation XDS came out on the market, gosh, it's been about 6 or 7 years ago now. The XDS Mod 2 came out on the market a couple years ago. Now the first generation XDS, when those hit the market, those really did well. For the first few years that we were in business, because we opened up the store like literally right when the first XDS hit the market, those were by far one of our best-selling handguns of any category. They competed even very well with the Smith & Wesson Shield, which even today still carries as being one of the best-selling concealed carry handguns on the market. Now, those came out on the market at about the $500 price point, about $499, and then they would offer the gear up packages again, where you would, or maybe around Christmas time, if you bought it, you could get 6 mags. That 6 magazines is, about $150 worth of value. So they would do that, and then of course after about 2 or 3 years they started offering really good promotions to dealers on them where you could like buy 5 and get 1 free, so that brought down our unit costs. We were able to sell the first gen XDSs new for a period of time for like $389. Plus you could get the gear up packages, so you could always find the first gens on the market even used with like 10 magazines for $300, and even today that still happens. This, like you saw when I opened it up, the previous owner of this also likely did a gear up package promo on this. Now the XDS Mod 2s, when they came out, and like I said, they've come out about 2 years ago, they have not actually been very big sellers on the market. Same price point new, about the $500 to $550. In my opinion, what they did is actually they increased the size of the firearm, so it just feels blockier and bulkier to me than the first generation did. And actually my dad carries an XDS 9mm 3.3 inch first gen, and to me that just feels better than these do. Now the grip texture on this is a little bit lighter than on the first gen, which was kind of a molded plastic sort of grip texturing, where this is sort of like more of a sandpapery type feel. So this does feel better, but the overall size just feels a little bit larger to me, and they did not increase capacity. Of course, they're also competing with the first gens on the used market at like half the price, so that's why I think these never did too well. They are still very good firearms. Again, by today's standards, they are being passed up by things like the 365 and the Hellcat. They offer these in the 3.3 and the 4-inch barrel, in 9mm, 40 and 45, at least as far as the first gens to the second, the Mod 2s. And, you know, like I said, a very good firearm, but just getting a little bit passed up by other options on the market today. If you find them used, especially a first gen, you should be able to find those still between about the $250 to $350 price point. Those are a really good deal. These are still on the used market going for around the $400 mark, especially with all the mags and everything. So these are still bringing in a little bit more than the first gens, but I think pound for pound and dollar for dollar, I still personally, that's just my personal opinion, prefer the first gen over the Mod 2. But still a very nice firearm and something I would definitely recommend taking a look at as a concealed carry option if you find it at the right price. Okay, up next I have another Ruger product, and these have always been kind of interesting. This is a Ruger 22 Charger, and essentially what you have here is a 1022 action with a short barrel and a pistol grip stock. This one has a nice gray laminate stock to it. You typically will find it with a bipod on it and a rail up here at the top, and it really is just a precision bench handgun. So the applications of these are very limited. They can be fun, you know, a nice concealable or easily stowable option if you want to take it out on the range, easy to transport for competition bench 22 shooting. Not really the niche that I am in personally, and it is a very narrow market on stuff like this. When there are people looking for them, they do sell very quickly. You kind of have to wait for that right buyer to come in. But these, I really don't see these come in too often. This is maybe the second or third used charger I've had in my store since I've opened. They are not by any means hard to come by. You can order them all day long online, or right now I don't know because of the market, but under normal circumstances you can usually find these anywhere, but most gun stores do not stock them, again because the market on them is pretty narrow. But any of your dealers during normal circumstances should be able to order one in for you, or you can find one on Buds or something like that. Used, again, with the 1022s and like Ruger products, they come in many different configurations, different finishes on the metal, different finishes on the stock, different stock materials, stuff like that. You can find them in different, coming with different parts and accessories, but typically something like this you're going to find used in about the $300 price point, new maybe about $400 to $450. So they are not wholly expensive. And again, if you want something to try that's a little bit different, like Bentrust 22 pistol shooting, you know, this is just something that's different and fun to play with. People have used these as bases or platforms for making like what I've seen people do is they do make a takedown model of this. They'll do the front end version of one of these and the back end version of a 1022 takedown stock version, and make an SBR, like a cool takedown short barrel SBR. So I've seen people play around with different versions like that. But of course, being a 1022, essentially it uses the same magazines. BX25s work just fine as well. So interesting concept on this, and just a unique firearm. Okay, up next I have an interesting set of Sig handguns, and these are actually pretty funny. These are a Sig 1911 5-inch government and a Sig 238. This is a 45, this is a 380. Both of these are in the Zombie Edition configuration. These were an offering from Sig, so you have these sort of biohazard aluminum paneled grip scales, and then you have engraved into both of them this sort of a green Z engraving with a little triangle behind it, and the biohazard graphics, let's see if that'll focus or not, right up here at the top. So sort of a quirky, funny sort of a setup for those of you who are like zombie memorabilia collectors. Night sights, of course, on both of these as well. Now, these were popular back, I don't know if you guys remember, back about the time The Walking Dead premiered. So we're talking back to 2011, 2012. there was a huge of sort of the popularity. It was a trend, sort of the zombie trend. You had Mossberg coming up with the chainsaw model, the Mossberg 500 Chainsaw Edition, which was a pistol grip with the chainsaw handle on top of it. I had that on a recent one of these videos as well. I had one of those used. Hornady came out with the green tip zombie killer round. So you have the zombie survival cans that you could buy at gun stores with it's basically a survival kit. So a lot of them were the practical usable firearms with a zombie collector spin to sort of go around with the funny trend at the time. So this is a nice throwback to that era. If you are a horror movie or a zombie memorabilia collector, this sort of thing would reach out to you. It does make this a very niche market. It's not something you can just take the grip skills off and put on standard grips and you kind of get away from the whole idea of it because you do have the engraving actually in the metal as well. So you really have to be a zombie collector to want these. But as a set, they are really cool. Because these were a limited edition offering from Sig, they actually do command on the used market surprisingly a good amount of money, but of course you have to find the right buyer. The Zombie 1911s I'm seeing between about $700 to $800. Not very many price points to go off of, but I just saw a couple going in about that price. And then on the 238 you're at about $400. So for the whole set, you're at about $1,200. Used for standard non-zombified 238s, you should find them, a little bit less, probably about the 350-ish range. The 1911, again, a little bit less, maybe 600 to 700. So they just a little bit of added value for the rarity of the fact that they are factory guns. These were not a third-party customization. So just an interesting sort of thing that I had never seen before. First time to have a zombie set like this in here. It's going to take the right buyer, but just kind of a cool thing to put in the case, and it'll definitely draw a lot of attention. So just funny firearms from the mid 2000s. Okay, last but not least, this is an interesting one. This is a MODI EMIS R9 Tak. From the glory days of the early imported AKs that you could get for about the $200 to $250 price point. MODI AKs have always had some high desirability. This one is a little bit of an interesting animal though. So the receiver on this is essentially MODI. MODI's Egyptian. The rest of it's basically Chinese parts. You can see that, like the enclosed sight hood here is like an early Type 56 AK part. The furniture, well, this is actually not original furniture, but you have the original sort of the pistol grip bracket here, which was indicative of a Chinese part. These had a reputation. They were basically brought in by Century Arms, and these had a reputation of, like a lot of Century Arms firearms, of some being really good and some being complete garbage. So you would have to be careful about what you're looking at. Look for things like canted sight bases and things like that. Now this one is in a little bit of disrepair. The original stock, which would have had a thumb hole stock on it, was sort of the band era firearm, if you will. It does have a threaded muzzle though, so the jury's out on that. Some were threaded, some were not. There was just really no true standard form on these MIS or MIS R90s, whatever you want to call them. Now this has a slant back receiver, so finding a stock for this, again, the original one was a thumb hole. So the previous owner took off the thumb hole stock and put on a standard stock and pistol grip. Finding a slant back stock for these is actually really tough because the early Mac 90s as well were slant back. So anything that would have been a fixed configuration slant back were quickly bought up and used by a lot of people who were doing conversions to fixed stock configuration. Now there is a company called, I think it's Ironworks Gun Stocks. I'll roll in, if I'm incorrect, I'll roll in the right name down in the bottom of the screen right now. But they make stocks that are very pricey. I mean, for a complete stock set, they're like $350, but they are really good quality, and they make the slant back stocks that fit. You can use the standard stocks for a standard square back trunnion, but they, just like this one, you're going to see a little bit of a gap in the wood, but this one's in there rock solid. Now this one also does have a couple breaks, cracks forming, so even this one will need to be replaced eventually. It's pretty solid right now and can be used as a shooter. Some other things like the muzzle brake on this one is gone. And this one, definitely taking apart, looks like it has seen a lot of use. But anyway, right now in good condition with the original thumb hole stock on them, I am seeing these go for about $800 to $1,000 online. This one with the non-original furniture, and it will need some replacement parts like the stock and a new muzzle, a threaded muzzle cover up here, a muzzle nut, if you will, probably in about the $400 to $500 price point. So it does still have that nostalgic collectability to it, but it's going to need a little bit of parts to get it back into a nice condition AK. But actually, as it sits right now, no reason to believe it's not functional. It's just a little bit ugly to look at. But anyway, interesting one to come in. I've had a Modi AK in here before, but never an MIS R9. So cool to see this come in, especially because we just got in that Mac 90 last week, different seller. So a little bit unique to get two early, sort of early pre-ban / ban era AKs in the same week. So kind of cool, and glad to have this in this week's video and to have in the store. Well, that is all the time I have for you today on these. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this video. If you enjoyed, please let me know by hitting that like button. And if you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to my channel. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you off there. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana. You are watching Marksman TV, and I will see you next time.